Hello, my name is Chris Halstead, and today we're going to talk through using the Horizon Unmanaged Machines tool to add registered physical machines into a manual desktop pool, assign the desktop, and assign the pool. Now, first of all, you have to register the devices with a connection server. So basically that means installing the agent with some switch, registering it as unmanaged to the connection server. And that's really the first step. And that's covered in a operational tutorial on techzone.vmware.com called Using Horizon 7 to Access Physical Windows Machines by Graham Gordon. That is a really good way to get started. Andrew Morgan has written a very nice tool as well that's linked in that document for installing the Horizon agent via PS remoting and generating the needed CSV file, which this tool uses. If we look at our Horizon 7 environment, we can see any devices that have been registered by clicking on registered machines, and that'll be done automatically with the tool, but just so you can see which devices are set as registered. To do this, we need a manual pool that's set to not use vCenter machines, basically use unmanaged machines, and you can see that I have none here. So we'll go ahead and in the tool we'll actually create those pools. So we launch a tool and put in the FQDN of the Horizon connection server. Now if you run it once and you come back in like I did here, it'll actually save the name of the connection server in the registry under current user, so you don't need to type it in again. Hit connect. The first time you connect, you'll be prompted to accept the certificate of the connection server. Once you accept it, it gets saved again in the registry, and you won't be prompted again. Also saving the username and the domain name so that make it a little bit easier and a little faster for you to connect in. So we type our password. Now it'll tell us that there are no manual pools. There are no pools detected to use with physical desktops. So it says, hey, do you want to create one? So we'll go ahead and create one. We'll give it a name. We'll call this manual-1. And display name is what the clients will see. So we'll do my desktop. So when they launch the Horizon client, this is what they'll see. They'll know to go right to my, their physical desktop. We'll use Blast, depending on the operating system, depending on the version of Horizon, you may want to change the default protocol. By default, the user can adjust the protocol on their end. So if they want to switch from Blast to RDP or whatever, they can do that as well. So we'll go ahead and create the pool. It's been created. We can see it up here. Now we're going to go ahead and import our mappings from the CSV file. Now if we look at the CSV file that's required, it's basically a header with machine, username, can be whatever, just a header. Name of the machine, comma separated, domain, / username. It's important to include the domain name because if you don't, there's no way to determine exactly what user we want to use. So it'll skip that user, essentially. It'll still register the machine if it's available, but it'll skip assigning that user to entitlement of the desktop and the pool. And also, if you have a user like I have here that doesn't exist or a machine that doesn't exist, it'll basically indicate that. So we can see here it said no domain can be processed without a domain. The other users good to go. So we'll go ahead and run our process. Now, when we run the process, it basically will attempt to cache 2,000 users from that domain. So in this case, it's going to look at beta VMware EUC and it's going to cache the first 2,000 users. Every domain that's specified in this list will have the first 2,000 users cached into a hash table, make the process of entitling the desktop and the pool much faster because it doesn't need to do an additional API call for that user to return the ID and then do the assignment. So we'll go ahead and start the process, and we'll notice that it'll wait for about 3 seconds while it's running that cache process, and then it'll go through and update dynamically what's happening in the environment. So added machine to the pool, added the user as an entitlement to the desktop, and added the user to the pool as an entitlement. And this log file is very important as well, which I'll show in a second. This is really where you can see exactly what happened as you run through the process. Now you can go ahead and create additional pools. If you want to do additional users, you shouldn't do more than 2,000 users per pool. But we can go ahead and do that, and you'll see that any of those users or any of the pools that fit that manual pool and set up for unmanaged machines are going to show up here in this pool list. So now we'll go ahead and just look at it from the Horizon side just to see what we see. And we can see that we have our two pools that we created with the tool. If we go into it, we can see that it actually shows when it was created, by who, with the tool. So you can go ahead and clean it up later as well. We look at the machines, we can see the machines, we can see the user entitlements, and then we look at the pool entitlements, we can see that each user has a direct entitlement to the pool. If we look at registered machines now, we'll see that it also indicates that they're in that desktop pool. Now if you already added users to a pool and you went to run it again, what you're going to see is basically it will detect that they're already in the pool and it'll skip them. So it won't try to process those users again. So it'll also, one other thing it'll show here is the Horizon version, which is important because different versions of Horizon have different capabilities when it comes to physical machine management. Officially supported in 7.7. It's potential that older versions may work with RDP, but again, it's a non-supported system. We go to the temp directory. We look at the log file called Horizon Manual, and then the date that you're running it. We go from the bottom up. It'll show us exactly what's happening during the import process, so you can use that for troubleshooting. Thank you very much. Hopefully this was helpful on how to use the tool, and make sure to keep an eye on GitHub because we'll be updating the tool continuously. Always use the latest version of the tool as you go through. Thanks.